It's the amazing Rico Brogna podcast with your host, Evan Roberts.
It is indeed a happy edition of Rico Brogna. Welcome to episode 494 on a Friday night in Denver, Colorado. It was not easy. There were many moments in which we all figured the Mets were going to take a big fat L from the now red-hot Colorado Rockies, but the Mets survive. They frustrate you all night long, and after 3 hours of, I would say, very entertaining baseball, not the prettiest, the Mets beat the Colorado Rockies 4-2. We'll spend a lot of time breaking down this game. I also want to spend a little bit of time on the Alumni Classic that was announced a couple of days earlier. That's just Old Timers Day. They've rebranded it. They've given it a brand new name. They have a date. They have rosters. They came prepared. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. This game one of the 3-game series against the Colorado Rockies, sort of similar to the games they played back at Citi Field, which is you're playing a Rockies team that is bad. You're playing a Rockies team that features a starting pitcher. I know he wasn't the starter today, a bulk pitcher in Sensatella, who's got an ERA that's basically 7, an offense that's scoring 3 runs per game. I get the Rockies swept the Miami Marlins, but they're the worst team in baseball. They have a chance to be the worst team of all time. And last week when the Mets played Colorado, I mentioned it's kind of unenjoyable because you're facing a bad team. You know it's baseball. You can't win every single game. And losing to them is going to feel dirty. Losing to them is going to feel unacceptable. And for about 2 hours and 40 minutes of this 3-hour game, it felt like we were witnessing an unacceptable loss. From beginning until almost the end, the common trend of not being able to get the big hit reared its ugly head, and it happened consistently. First of all, when I saw that the Rockies were going with the opener, Ryan Rollison, I was a little confused because, number one, the Rockies only have one left-hander in their bullpen, which is Ryan Rollison. I remember that only from last week because, I saw their roster. And so I'm thinking, you're going to put a lefty on the mound to start the game. Mendy's not an idiot. It's not like he's going to give you a full right-handed lineup. He knows that we're going to see Sensatella for most of the game, and now you leave yourself without a left-handed reliever. So I guess the thinking was because Sensatella is so bad in first innings, if his first inning is really the second inning, I guess it'll work. And apparently it did. And it really only worked because of the Mets' incompetence. Because it's not like Antonio Sensatella came out and was dealing when he came in the second inning. He put 2 guys on base, and he fell behind Ronnie Mauricio, and he got lucky. And he got him out on a comebacker. Same thing in the third inning. Put 2 guys on base in the third inning, struck out Pete Alonso, got Jeff McNeil to pop up, walked the guy in the fourth inning, got through trouble. I mean, this was constant. And this has been the story of the Mets all season long. So it's not new. It's ho-hum. They're going to leave a country on base. They're going to lack the big hit. But this game in so many ways was so typical of the Mets all year long. That's going to happen. They're going to frustrate you. But then they'll get just a couple of big hits, and it'll be enough to win. But go back to the beginning of this game against Ryan Rollison. Gets the first 2 guys of the game out, gives up a base hit to Juan Soto, who attacked the first pitch, went the other way for a hit. And then Pete Alonso grounds into a fielder's choice. Then again, Sensatella, I just mentioned it. 2 on, 2 out. Ronnie Mauricio, who is facing a little bit of pressure right now because these at-bats are not guaranteed. They're just not. Francisco Lindor is going to come back and play shortstop. Jeff McNeil is making a bid to be the second baseman. Tyrone Taylor gets his at-bats. Brett Beatty gets his at-bats. Jared Young, for whatever reason, the Mets still love. So for Ronnie Mauricio to get himself major league at-bats, he's going to have to hit. So I looked at this game as, I don't say a big game for him, but the at-bats are starting to become more important. You don't want to begin 0 for 12, 0 for 15, 2 for 20. And he came up in the second inning of this game with 2 on and 2 out, got ahead of the count, had a 3-1 pitch to hit, and hits a comebacker. Failed opportunity number 1. You go to the third inning, you have 2 on, you have 1 out for Pete Alonso, and it's very difficult to kill Pete. You can never kill Pete, especially what he's going to end up doing later in the game, and he strikes out, and Jeff McNeil pops up. By the time we got to the 6th inning, which was really the microcosm of their struggles with guys on base, The Mets were already 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position and had left 6 guys on over the first 4 innings. So the story was already being written in ineptitude as far as getting runs in. But what we witnessed in the 6th inning was probably the rock bottom in terms of getting the big hit. Alonso walk, McNeil walk, Tyrone Taylor gets hit by a pitch. I'm still not sure it actually hit him. And you've got the bases loaded and nobody out against Jake Bird. I'm going to spend a few minutes on Jake Bird later because he's relevant. And you watch Beatty, Alvarez, and Mauricio strike out back to back to back. And the worst one was Mauricio's because he had no shot. And at this point, Ronnie Mauricio is 0 for 3, a comebacker on a 3-1 pitch with 2 on and nobody out, a pop-up the shortstop with a runner on second, and now a bases-loaded strikeout. So he had left in his first 3 at-bats 6 guys on base. And every one of those at-bats came with a runner in scoring position. So Ronnie Mauricio, who we have to be patient with, I admit that, was as off to as bad of a start as you could imagine. You almost think that all of the damage he did in AAA was an optical illusion with the start he got off to. So this offense is doing nothing. All the while, Kodai Senga really only made the one mistake, which was the ghost fork to Mickey Moniak hooking into the right field corner and staying just up enough and just left enough to go out for a solo home run. That was it. Now, Senga did a great job himself working in and out of trouble, which is part of his specialty. Got a double play against Thairo Estrada. That 3rd inning looked like it was going to become shaky because after he gave up the home run to Moniak, he gave up the base hit to Tyler Freeman. He walked Jordan back. So he was set up to have a very shaky 3rd inning until he got Estrada to swing at the first pitch and roll one over to Beatty for a 5-4-3 double play. But the real impressive work was in the 5th inning, not just by Kodai Senga to get a huge, huge strikeout of Keaston Hira, but also what a defensive play by Pete Alonso on the ground ball off the bat of Moniak, in which Alonso fields it, kind of sidearms it home. And I thought that Ryan Ritter, the rookie, was out at the plate, but we weren't sure. We actually had to go to replay because they initially called him safe. And in this replay world, I don't get annoyed because I'm like, let's just check it out. Let's wait for the replay. And maybe I'm crazy. I feel like replay's been better this year, where it doesn't have to be overwhelming for them to overrule a call. Like they're just going to go with what they see on the tape. And in the case of this play, Ritter at the plate, he's out. Now, you want to parse words and say, well, they called him safe on the field. You need overwhelming evidence to overturn it. I think that this year they've done a better job of not doing that. And so it was nice to see that the umpires fixed the missed call, and Pete Alonso and Francisco Alvarez were rewarded for what was a really nifty defensive play. The Met defense did them in that finale against Los Angeles. So really good to see good defense. And that wasn't the only good play Pete Alonso made. Go back to the first inning of this game. Hunter Goodman hit one, and Pete made a headlong dive, made a great play there. You had the 2-4 caught stealing where Alvarez made a tremendous throw to nail Goodman in the 4th inning. But this play by Pete to really bail Kodai Senga out after giving up the leadoff triple was a stellar defensive play. And even though they're in Coors Field and even though they're facing a Rocky pitching staff that is really, really bad, that second run felt like a big deal. You know, it felt like such an uphill battle down 1-0 that 2-0 would have felt enormous. And so that was a huge defensive play by Pete. And then credit to Kodai Senga. He's at 84 pitches through 5. The Mets need to squeeze out another inning. In this modern age, here's the way I look at this. If you give me 6, you did your job. 6 innings is a nice, solid number to get to in this day and age. Anything short of that, you're putting your bullpen in a lark. And we know how worked and taxed this Met bullpen has been recently. You know, Reed Garrett wasn't going to be available in this game after what happened the previous day. So it was important for Senga to come back out in the 6th inning, get 3 more outs, keep this game at 1-0, and he did exactly that. So great work by Kodai Senga. Now the offense and the moment where finally we got some relief. 7th inning, down 1-0. You can't lose a 1-0 game at Coors Field. Like, you can't lose a 1-0 game at Coors Field. You can't lose a 1-0 game at Coors Field to a team that has a team ERA of 5.40. That can't happen. So in the 7th inning against Tyler Kinley, a guy with a 6 ERA, you see Starling Marte come through, and that was a very big at-bat because he was behind 0-2, and he pokes one up the middle with 1 out. You see Juan Soto come through with a base hit up the middle. Juan Soto was on base 4 times in this game. And then you get the Pete Alonso moment. And what has been so impressive about Pete Alonso in 2025 is his ability to hit with 2 strikes. His 2-strike approach has been tremendous all season long. He has hit, I was looking at the numbers the other day. In fact, I could pull them up right now because they are interesting when it comes to Pete, how good he's been with 2 strikes. But I think Pete Alonso has already hit as many home runs on 0-2 pitches this season as he has last season. Pete Alonso on an 0-2 pitch, behind in the count, rips a line drive up the alley in left center field. And how important was that? Considering going into that at-bat, the Mets at that point were 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position. 0 for 8. And he goes out and gets a huge, huge hit. So here are the numbers on Pete Alonso with an 0-2 count. So in his career, Pete Alonso is a 166 hitter. And that's not abnormal. Like, guys do not have high batting averages when they're behind in the count 0-2. And by the way, I want to specify, it's not after being behind 0-2. It's the count is 0-2. So last year, for example, Pete Alonso hit 2 home runs and went 5 for 58. That's an 0.86 batting average with the count 0-2. I guess I can do some quick math and include today's at-bat. But coming into the game today, he was 5 for 19. That means he has had many hits this season with an 0-2 count as he had last season. And his batting average, 263. His OPS, 842. His OPS in his career on an 0-2 count is 526. So these are numbers he has never put up before. In fact, the best batting average he's had in any year on 0-2 pitches is 197 in his rookie season. And I guess we can include this at-bat, so it makes it 6 for 20. He's hitting 300. He has 6 hits on 0-2 counts. He has 5 RBIs with the count 0-2. He has never driven in more than 5. You got to go all the way back to, again, his rookie season. So the numbers back it up. He's a different player with 2 strikes than he was last year, really, at any point in his career. And that was a monstrous hit down 1-0 because they couldn't lose this game 1-0. They could lose this game. I mean, I think we're all kind of figure at some point they will lose a game to Colorado, though. Hey, man, maybe not. They're 2 wins away from making it 6 for 6. The Yankees lost the game to Colorado. But if you're going to lose the game to Colorado, it can't be 1-0. So a huge hit from Pete Alonso. And I tried to enjoy it, but watching Jeff McNeil, who never gets a big hit. And I know that seems like such an overstatement, and it probably is because he does get big hits once in a while. But right now, if I'm ranking guys I have zero confidence in, like top confidence to bottom confidence in a big spot, Jeff McNeil's towards the bottom. I can't even remember the last time he came up with a big hit. And so he pops up the shortstop. And I'm getting frustrated because now, even though Pete came through with the 2-run double and it's 2-1 Mets, I still feel like they need another run, and I feel like they needed to take advantage of that opportunity against a crappy pitcher in Tyler Kinley. And they didn't do it because you saw McNeil pop up, you saw Tyrone Taylor pop up, and then even in the 8th inning, Ronnie Mauricio had a really important at-bat. I don't want to skip ahead because obviously Huascar Brazaban comes in and just gives up the lead. And I think we are starting to see maybe the workload get to Brazaban, but he's looked more human recently. Comes in with the 1-run lead in the 7th, gives up the triple to Sam Hilliard, a ball that looked like it had a chance to get out, and Juan Soto had a tough time picking up. And then he gives up the base hit to Mickey Moniak, but to his credit, gets through the inning with the help of that throw by Juan Soto. Moniak tried to make it a double, and he got thrown out at second base. So he's helped out by his defense, which was a trend here. The Mets played good defense in this game. So concerned about Braziban a little bit. I think the workload is getting to him. We've talked about this all year. The Mets use their relievers a lot, and they use certain relievers a lot. As much as Mendy's tried to avoid back-to-back days, Oscar Braziban has thrown a ton. And so him being a little bit more human recently may be related to that. So you go to the eighth inning in a tie game. And again, you're looking for the big hit. Ronnie Mauricio comes up, 2 outs, nobody on, gets ahead of the count, 3-1, and hits a ball to very, very deep left center field. He did not run the ball out initially. Now, when Mauricio ripped it and barely ended up on second base, and maybe barely's too strong because he ended up jogging into second base, but it did feel like he didn't run at all. When you look at the replay, there was about a 3-second pose, and then he did run. I don't know if it was full speed, but he did run. I thought it was a great sign, at least from him offensively, because at that point, I think he was now 0 for 11 to begin his new major league career. First at-bats in the majors since 2023. And a lot of those at-bats were awful looking. Like that strikeout in the 6th inning, he looked completely overmatched. So for Mauricio to have that kind of at-bat, especially in a big spot, I know it's 2 outs and nobody on, but it's a tie game in the top of the 8th inning, I thought was really encouraging and hopefully is something Mauricio can build off of. The problem is Brandon Nimmo couldn't take advantage of it. An awful day by Nimmo. He goes 0 for 5. So here we are staring at what could have been another extra inning game. And we received that email from a loyal Rico listener, Dan. I read this a few days ago, and I thought it was so funny because it was so accurate. He said the Mets are the only team that can play games against the Rockies and games against the Dodgers, and they're exactly the same. They make wins against the Rockies look like wins against the Dodgers. And it's true. I mean, give the Mets credit. They beat good teams. No one's mocking them that they don't. It's just that their game against Colorado on Friday is like the game against LA on Monday. I mean, spot the difference. Close, low-scoring games. The Mets will make everyone look the same in a lot of ways. But going into that 9th inning, with 2, 3, 4 coming up, not knowing how much they have in their bullpen after Edwin Diaz, who was warming up, and I assumed was coming into this game in the 9th inning, whether it was tied or the Mets took the lead. This was such an important inning for this team to go win the game. And it all started with Juan Soto. This was a very good day for Juan Soto. On base 4 times, 3 singles and a walk, and he starts the rally in the 9th inning. And then you have Pete again. We will remember the 2-run double on an 0-2 pitch, but how about the at-bat with 1 out and 1 on in the 9th inning against this Zach Agnos, who's a tough customer. He's pitched well this year, took some close pitches, and draws a huge 1-out walk. And after missed the clutch Jeff McNeil flied out to center field, you have all the drama in the world because Francisco Lindor is sent up as a pinch hitter. We heard from Mendy that Lindor was not available for Thursday's game, but he was clearly available for Friday's game, and Mendy was waiting for the right spot. When is the right time, the right moment to take the bullet out and say, I'm going to go to Francisco Lindor? And Francisco Lindor has not only been incredibly clutch over the last couple of years, but these moments, whether it's missing the beginning of the game because he got to the ballpark a little bit late because his daughter was born, no matter what the situation, you put Lindor late in the game, it seems like he always comes through. That game last year against Chicago certainly jumps out at you, where he was the hero coming off of the bench. So here's Lindor, still limping, according to Keith Hernandez, who said before the game, yeah, saw Francisco at the airport. He's still limping. And he comes up in this huge spot, 2 on, 2 out. It does feel like the game's on the line. I get the Rockies stink. I get Edwin Diaz can come in and pitch a nice, easy 1, 2, 3 inning, and this could go to the 10th inning. But this feels like the golden opportunity you need to take advantage of. And how about our guy, El Capitan, Francisco Lindor, smoking one into the right field corner. And then to top it all off, Pete Alonso, who is dead to rights at the plate, a very aggressive send, does the swim move to get past the tag by Goodman. What a great slide by Pete Alonso. Pete's doing everything incredible right now. Everything. His defense has been amazing. His 0-2 approach is amazing. He's their best clutch hitter. And now he's sliding and stealing the Mets a run. That was a stolen run by Pete Alonso. Absolute great work by him. And the Mets take the lead. And they finally get another big hit. So really it was two. They go 2 for 15 with runners in scoring position, which is not good. But like always, it works because their defense was great. It works because for the most part, they pitched really well. And I'll say it, they were lucky. Now, why do I say the Mets were lucky? Don't you create your own luck by being good? Sure, you do. But let's go to the 8th inning of this game. This was before the Mets took the 4-2 lead. This was after the Rockies had tied the game and after Brandon Nimmo struck out, leaving Ronnie Mauricio on second base. Ryan Stanek is in this game trying to keep it tied. Gives up a leadoff base hit to Jordan Beck ahead in the count. Gives up a booming double to Thairo Estrada, also ahead in the count. And then we see Juan Soto have hot potato trying to pick the ball up and right, and I was stupefied that Jordan Beck did not score. A bizarre stop sign was put up that held Beck at third base, that kept it to second and third, nobody out. Could be a big moment. Could be a big deal. You should have gotten that run that would have given Colorado the lead and put them 3 outs away from winning. When Hunter Goodman came up with second and third, nobody out, I didn't want them to face him. Goodman is their best hitter. Ryan McMahon has been a mess. He's on deck. So I was actually, I don't want to say screaming at my TV. I was politely talking to my TV saying, hey, Mendy, what are we doing here? Why is Hunter Goodman coming to the plate with second and third and nobody out? What are we doing? But it did feel like Stanek was pitching around him, walked him on 5 pitches. Bases loaded, nobody out. I'm making peace with the fact the Mets are losing this game. I'm making peace with the Rico. I'm already thinking, am I going to scream and yell? Am I that pissed off? I am. I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed at myself because I went into that last Dodger game thinking house money. What a huge mistake. I'll never think that again. And that's going to be my death sentence because now the Mets are going to be on a 2-game losing streak. They will have lost to Colorado. I'm never going to hear the end of it, and I'm annoyed at myself. And when I say luck, I'm talking about the Ryan McMahon play. A line drive, a sliced line drive on the first pitch. That lucky number 1 goes right to Brett Beatty, and lucky number 2, Beatty's able to scoot on over to third base and tag out Jordan Beck off of third. Bases loaded, nobody out. There are 2 double plays that are like magic. 1, 2, 3 double play, and then that. And that. In fact, I'd argue that double play is better than the 1, 2, 3 double play because the 1, 2, 3 double play leaves second and third 2 out. This left first and second 2 out. And Ryan Stanek did the rest of the work by striking out Brenton Doyle. But bases loaded, nobody out, and the Rockies don't score. And unlike when the Mets failed with the bases loaded and nobody out, the Mets struck out 3 times in a row. In this case, it was a line drive that happened to be right at Brett Beatty. So it takes a little bit of luck, and then you have to take advantage of it like the Mets did in the top of the 9th inning, and then you have to slam the door like Edwin Diaz did in the bottom of the 9th inning. So it's a win. Is it a good win? You know what? I think all wins are good wins. I think all wins, especially on nights the Philadelphia Phillies lose, and you can open up your NL East lead to 2.5 games, largest it's been in a couple of weeks. It's all good. And at the end of the day, whether it's against the Dodgers or it's against the Rockies, whether it's 18-1 or it's 4-2, a win is a win. And the Mets are 40-24. And yes, I said going into this road trip, get a split against the Dodgers, mission accomplished. And I'm okay with losing a game. I don't want to lose a game, but get 2 out of 3, and I think you got to feel real good about winning 5 out of 6 against Colorado and good on this road trip. But I'm learning from my Dodger mistake. Go sweep this team. I mean, just go sweep them. Great job by Kodai Senga. Overall, 6 innings, 1 run. His ERA continues to be lowered. And the more innings he goes, this is why 6 innings is really important, the more he can qualify for the ERA lead. Remember what I told you the formula is. It's games played. So this was the 64th game played by the New York Mets. Kodai Senga has now thrown 68 innings. So he is going to qualify for the ERA lead for about 4 more days. And then it goes away. So Kodai Senga really can't afford to miss any starts. Otherwise, that's really going to screw him. But good victory by the Mets. And now we look forward to a Saturday night game and a Sunday afternoon game, wrapping up what has been so far so good on this road trip against the LA Dodgers and the Colorado Rockies. It is going to be Clay Holmes on Saturday against a left-hander, Palmquist, and then Tyler McGill on Sunday with German Marquez making the start. I wonder if Lindor will be back in the lineup, but I think the Mets are in a good spot to continue to rest him, especially if they can use him late in the game as a pinch hitter, use him as a weapon. But if he's not running really well, you don't want to be stupid. Plus, this continues to afford an opportunity for a guy like Ronnie Mauricio. I wouldn't be surprised if Lindor doesn't play the next 2 days, and then they have an off day on Monday. So you end up really giving him a lot of rest, but also simultaneously using him when need be. We'll have another Rico Brogna recapping this series. I would tell you, though, right now, the leader in the clubhouse for the Rico I'm the Man Now star of the series is Pete Alonso. I'm just telling you right now. Could he do it again? It's on the table. Now, let me get to this Alumni Classic. I didn't see this one coming because the Mets brought back Old Timers Day a couple of years ago. It was a hit. Everybody loved it. It was great. I got to meet Steve Cohen only once, and when I met him, it was right after Old Timers Day. I'd say like a couple days later, and that was the first thing I said to him. I said, Steve, thank you very much for Old Timers Day. And I even said to him, you should bring it back every year. Maybe there has to be different themes. You know, it's not just bring everybody back every year. Maybe you put some themes to it, but Old Timers Day should return. Well, it wasn't here last year. It's back this year, and it's got a brand new name. It's called the Alumni Classic. They announced it's going to be September 13th against the Texas Rangers. So I guess Jacob deGrom could pitch a doubleheader. He could be in the Alumni Classic and then also possibly go for Texas. But I haven't heard why the name change has been made, but I have heard from players in the past that they don't like being called old timers, that it is an offensive term to them. So I think this was, hey, let's clean it up. David Wright doesn't want to be referred to as an old timer. Meanwhile, David Wright is not even on the roster. So David Wright's coming back for his number retirement. He's not going to be a part of the Alumni Classic. But I like the name. I think it's actually a good name. I think it's better than Old Timers Day. I call it Old Timers Day because that's what it's always been called. It's been the name for a million years. But just because something's been the name for a long time doesn't mean it's the best name. So to the older players that are offended by being called old timers, get over it. But I actually like Alumni Classic better. Now, the concept they're going to go with, and I love this, but I have a flaw with it, is it's going to be Team Shea Stadium era versus Team Citi Field era. I got 2 issues with this. Number one, I don't have an issue. I like the creativity. That was my suggestion to Steve Cohen. Like, let's get creative. Not that he remembers it, not that I'm taking any credit for it, but I like the idea of let's do themes. The problem with the Shea Stadium Citi Field theme is twofold. Number one, 1964 until 2008. 2008 until now. And now doesn't count because the guys are still playing. So it's really 2008 until 2009, I should say. Shea Stadium closed in 2008. 2009 until like 2015. It's like a 6-year sample size of alumni. So number one, it's a mismatch in terms of talent. But then number two, the Citi Field guys are younger. So even if Josh Tolley isn't as good as Mike Piazza, Josh Tolley is younger than Mike Piazza. He has an advantage. With that said, let me give you the roster if you haven't heard. There are going to be 2 managers for each team because, we have to be nice. Willie Randolph and Bobby Valentine. I love you, Willie. It's Bobby Valentine. For the City Field managers, you've got Terry Collins and Jerry Manuel. Same thing. It's Terry Collins. I mean, Jerry Manuel managed at City Field for 2 years, and they sucked in both of those years. So, truthfully, it shouldn't be Jerry Manuel. It should be Buck Showalter. Now, I don't think the Mets would do that because it's only been a year and a half, but he is an old-timer or an alumni, and he had more success as manager here than Jerry Manuel did. Jerry Manuel never made the playoffs. Jerry Manuel was the architect over the second collapse, even if it wasn't really a collapse and it was just a hard-fought playoff race that the Mets missed out on. And then he ushered in a bad time in Mets history. But all right, again, this goes back to my point of Citi Field doesn't have a lot to choose from. The pitchers, there are going to be 6 on each side. For Shea Stadium, John Franco. Mike Hampton. I guess I got to get over it because Mike was a good Met for the 1 year he was here. But Mike Hampton's going to get booed. He's going to walk into Citi Field, and much like 2 years ago at Old Timers Day, people are going to boo him. But I guess I respect that Mike Hampton so doesn't care that he's coming back anyway. Al Leiter, Pedro Martinez, Rick Reed, and Billy Wagner. The pitchers for the Citi Field era, Bartolo Colon, R.A. Dickey, Matt Harvey, John Neese, the great Johan Santana, and how about this one? This one cracked me up. Noah Syndergaard. And I only laugh with Noah Syndergaard, not because he shouldn't come back to an Alumni Classic. I laugh because Noah Syndergaard still wants to pitch. He's not that old. In fact, Noah Syndergaard is only 32 years old. Now, by the time this game is played, he'll be 33. But 33 years old? What are we talking about? He actually pitched in the major leagues in 2023. So this is what I'm talking about when I say the Citi Field team will actually have an edge. Noah Syndergaard last pitched with the Cleveland Guardians and the LA Dodgers in the 2023 season. If Noah Syndergaard is pitching hard and trying his best, I'm going to assume the Shea Stadium old-timers are going to have no shot. They're going to have no shot against them. So as you see, I'm getting a real kick out of this. Let me get the rest of the roster. So now we got the catchers. For the Shea Stadium era, we got Paul LaDuca and Mike Piazza. And in the Citi Field era, we have Kevin Plawecki and Josh Tolley. Again, the Citi Field era, young guys. Plawecki and Tolley not that far removed from playing. But Mike Piazza is a Hall of Famer, and Paul LaDuca was, pretty damn good. Here are your infielders. For the Shea Stadium era, Edgardo Alfonso, Carlos Delgado, Ray Ordonez, Jose Reyes, Robin Ventura, and Todd Zeile. The Citi Field era features Asdrubal Cabrera. It'll be good to see Asdrubal back. Ike Davis. Loved Ike. Kelly Johnson. He felt like a hero when the Mets acquired him multiple times in 15 and then 16. The great Josh Satin. Remember Josh? And Ruben Tejada, who will get a huge hand. And then you've got your outfielders. For the Shea Stadium era, we have Benny Agbayani, Carlos Beltran, Endy Chavez, and Cliff Floyd. And in the Citi Field era, we have Mike Baxter, who absolutely deserves to be there, considering he's the hero from the Johan no-hitter. Curtis Granderson, Juan Lagares. Where did I see Juan Lagares recently where he was playing? I think I saw him in the Winter League or somewhere. Was it spring training? Somewhere recently. I'm like, is Juan No, you know what? I got it all wrong. I did not see Juan Lagares playing. I saw Juan Lagares throwing out the first pitch. That's what it was. Opening day this season, we were all surprised that Juan Lagares was repping the 2015 team when they were honoring, teams that had gotten to the World Series. And then finally, Kirk Neuenhuis, famous for hitting all those home runs in one game. So that's your roster. I think it's awesome. I can't wait. I immediately texted my wife when it came out. I said, all right, we got to make sure we're free on September 13th. So I think it's really cool that the Mets are doing it. I like the new name, the Alumni Classic. I like the gimmick of Shea versus City, even if it has a major flaw. And we got to start thinking of other creative ways they can have the Alumni Classic. If you have ideas, email us, thericob@gmail.com. I had the idea, I revealed this on the air probably a while ago, that you should incorporate other alumni from other franchises. So have fun and say, hey, we're going to do a 1999 NLCS rematch. And you invite the old Atlanta Braves and they play the Mets. Now, the problem is, are we fixing the results so that we have a happy ending? Probably not. I thought about doing that with the Subway World Series. Hey, 25 years, let's have a rematch. Bring the Yankees back. Paul O'Neill, Tino Martinez, Derek Jeter. Let's go. I don't know if that'll ever happen. So it may just be splitting up the Mets. So if you have any ideas, email us to ricob@gmail.com. But very cool. September 13th, 2025, the Alumni Classic before Mets, Texas Rangers on a Saturday afternoon. We'll have another Rico to recap this Colorado series. That will definitely be out there at some point Sunday night or Monday morning. You can always download it wherever you download your podcasts. Or if you want to consume the Rico Brogna live, we do broadcast live on YouTube. So subscribe to the WFAN page on YouTube. Thank you very much for listening to episode 494. Damn, we're moving towards 500 quick. Thank you for listening to episode 494 of Rico Brogna.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Rico Brogna podcast. It's amazing, isn't it? Make sure you download it now to keep it on you at all times.